Hey everybody, it's time for another video, and yeah, let's call this one a vlog. It's not solely about games that I've picked up in the last 2 weeks, but I do want to talk about a couple of games that I've been playing and games that I've finished. But yeah, that is something that we will do later on in this video. It turned out to be a longer segment than I actually anticipated. But yeah, I'm gonna blame that on one of the games that I'm currently playing because it's rather complex. You know, yes, it is rather complex. It might be already like in the thumbnail. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about JRPGs and more specifically about the Legends of Heroes series. Listen, I'm not an expert. I just started playing one of those games, one of many games. But yeah, I got a couple of Nintendo 64 games and really happy about that because I'm collecting like NTSC games, and it is becoming harder and harder to get games for that console, especially, you know, games from the NTSC region. And do I have some PAL games? Maybe, but I'm not too sure. Maybe one of the Formula 1 games is like a PAL exclusive games. Anyway, we're gonna start with that. And yeah, I already showed like Goemon, like the intro. I just wanted to start with that because it's fantastic. When let's get into like the games that I've picked up. So again, one of them is Goemon Mystical Ninja for the Nintendo 64. This is the NTSC release, and yeah, there's a PAL version as well. But yeah, I was eyeing this one for a very long time. It's not the cheapest one to get for the Nintendo 64. Also not like the most expensive one, but it should be around like €75, $75. Probably like dollars is a little bit cheaper, but yeah, I was able to get this one. Really wanted to add it to my collection because it's kind of fascinating. It's a very fascinating game on the Nintendo 64 because it actually, if I'm correct, do correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm correct, this one actually came out before Ocarina of Time, but it is an RPG, and yeah, can I say it's like an open world? It's not an open world, but it is kind of like massive. There's a massive world going on, like with an open like space to wander around and to visit like different areas, and that is kind of like what fascinates me for the, you know, as a game on the Nintendo 64, because there are just not that many Nintendo 64 games that actually do that, and it is just fun. It is just a very fun game, and that is why I wanted to start out with that intro. I do have the most experience with Mystical Ninja, like Goemon, on the Super Nintendo. Still do want to add that one to my collection at some point. I just like the art style and like how the game actually plays. You know, yeah, how does it actually play? Like you do, it's more like a side scroller instead of like this one, like a more like a third. No, it's not like third person. Yeah, it's third person, but more like a Zelda Ocarina of Time like of game. The Super Nintendo one is more like a side-scroller, and you do have like a town, and that's more top-down, where you do fight like enemies as well. You get coins, you can buy like items, and yeah, it has some like RPG elements in there, and it's just a very fun game on the Super Nintendo, but never had a chance to actually pick it up. It is luckily also not that expensive. It should be around like 40 or so. Yeah, maybe this is the year. This is the year of Goemon, I'm gonna say, and I think more people will agree with that statement. But yeah, this is definitely a departure from that. There is another Goemon game on the Nintendo 64. I'm gonna say it's something, the Grand Adventure, Goemon's Grand Adventure, something along those lines. I don't know, man. There are so many games. I don't know every title. But there's another one. That is a side-scroller though, but people do say that's the better one of those two, like when you compare it to this one. That's not saying that this is a bad one, the other one is just a little bit better. And yeah, that's more like a side-scroller, but also the more expensive one. It's like 100 plus, I want to say 120 or so. At some point I do want to have that one as well for the Nintendo 64. But yeah, I will take my time, like not in a rush. Like this one was my priority number one, so very happy that I was able to pick up Mystical Ninja featuring Goemon. So that is that, and yeah, it's just before I start to let me put away the card. I don't want to damage it. I also still need to clean that card. Like, there are a couple of like the security stickers like on the side, and there's a huge epilepsy warning on the back. Don't think I will attempt to remove this one. Like, I don't. With the Nintendo 64 games, what counts for me is that the label is at least in a good state, and of course the card itself, like the shell. But the backside, like, I'm okay, and I think I will just keep it like this. Maybe at some point just replace it with a back cover from a cheaper game, but it's fine. But yeah, for the Nintendo 64, it's getting harder and harder to actually collect games for the Nintendo 64, because yes, I am collecting like NTSC games, because those just run a little bit better. It's the 60 Hz, 50 Hz story. Not gonna go into detail about that, or not even gonna talk about it more. But yeah, at some point I just made the decision like, hey, I'm gonna collect like the NTSC games, and still thinking about like, hey, is a full collection like doable? Yeah, to some extent. But there are quite a few games, or no, there are not a ton of games, but there are just a ton of cheaper titles that are probably not that fun to play. That kind of makes me like somewhat hesitant to go for a full collection. There are just like a ton of like wrestling games, baseball games, probably some NBA games, like just a ton of like sport titles. And there are a couple of Nintendo 64 games that are more expensive already, like the other Mystical Ninja game. And there's also this Bomberman game, which is rather expensive, also like within the same range as the Goemon game, 140, 130 or so, probably a little bit more expensive. Now that I mentioned it, a game that I always forget is the Worms Armageddon. And that one, I want to say is around like 200 or so. It's kind of nuts. But there are just a few games left that are missing from my collection that are in that price range. And there are some more expensive games for the Nintendo 64, like the Clay Fighter, the Sculptor's Cut. And there's a racing game, like a bowling game, that are... Or there's some sort of, I don't want to say it's Speed Racer, but there's a racing game on the Nintendo 64 that I do want to say is around like 400 euros or so. And I don't know. Those are games that you buy at the, if you know for sure you're going to go for that full collection and you already have like all of them or most of them. So speaking of that, there's another Nintendo 64 game that I have picked up and very happy about that. And yeah, I will talk about like the amount of games that I currently have and maybe mention a couple games that I'm currently eyeing that I might want to add to my collection. There are not many of them. So without going for a full collection, I think I'm almost done with the Nintendo 64. And that is kind of nuts. But yeah, let's talk about the other game that I have picked up. I'm very happy with the following game because this one was quite high on my list, or at least very high on my list, because it was one of the games that I really wanted to add to my Nintendo 64 collection. Even more so when I compare to like Mystical Ninja featuring Goemon, because this game I just don't see it that often, and it is somewhat in the same price range, maybe a little bit more expensive. And yeah, let's just show it. It is Mega Man 64. It is the NTSC release, of course, but if I am correct, there was never a PAL release of Mega Man 64 on the Nintendo 64 in the PAL regions. It didn't come out over there. And yeah, it was quite difficult to get. I was not actively searching for it, but just like eyeing it here and there whenever I felt like, hey, maybe I should check out if some of these Nintendo 64 games are available. This one, never really popped up. On eBay, it did though, but on eBay, sometimes like the price is just rather high. Or more higher than you kind of want to pay for it when you compare like price charting. But yeah, this one was available on Vinted in a very good state, and they were asking, a very good price for it. I think, I want to say I paid 75 for this one, around like 75. And when you compare it to like the price charting price, that is a good deal. Especially considering that I would pay more if I had to import Mega Man 64. Now, I don't know the price from the top of my head, but yeah, let's just say I'm gonna give it like a rough estimate. If I had to import this one, the price would probably be more around like 100 or 110 or so, because yeah, eBay prices with the shipping from the state and then the tax. It is quite easy to add like 30 or 40% to the price or so. A rough estimate. But yeah, it was just a very difficult game to get, and I really wanted to add this one to the Nintendo 64 collection because I have played... well, let's step back a little bit. This is the same game, same game that is also available on the PlayStation 1, Mega Man Legends. And I played that game in the past when I was younger and really enjoyed my time with it. I just really like the art style. I'm not too sure like how far I got in that game. I think I got stuck, or the version that I had, something was maybe wrong with it. Something, made me stop playing it. But one of the things that stood out to me with Mega Man Legends is just the art style. I like the low poly aesthetics and the texture work. It's kind of like, how do you translate like pixel art to like 3D models with those kind of like textures? I just like the art style a ton, and it's an art style that someday I hope to explore a little bit more, like maybe make a game in that art style on my own. I've dabbled with it like here and there when I was like doing some 3D modeling, but I just like the art style a lot of Mega Man Legends. It just looks cool, and I like how it kind of it doesn't necessarily like translate like the traditional like Mega Man games to like a 3D game. It is its own thing. It's more like an adventure, adventure with some like RPG elements like mixed in there as well. So that's kind of cool to see and like an experience. It's just a very fun game to play, or at least my memory is that playing Mega Man Legends was a very fun game to play. So yeah, back to the Nintendo 64 version though. It is Mega Man Legends. but it is not the best version to play because, of course, they had to cram like that whole game on a Nintendo 64 card, and that actually meant that the audio is worse. It is very noticeable, like it's very low fidelity, like very compressed. You hear like immediately, like in the intro with the music, but I'm okay with it. The biggest part though, the biggest downside with the Nintendo 64 version is definitely like the the textures and like that art style. When you compare it to the PlayStation version, this one, it is just a blurry mess, or a blurry mess that sounds a little bit um, like too much. But it doesn't translate that well because of course the textures are just blurry, and that is what you don't want to see with like textures like that with the pixel art. You just want to have like sharp, crisp textures, and that is not like noticeable or something that you see like with the Nintendo 64 version of it. So two things, like the audio, I'm okay with it, but the art style, I would have loved to see like that Christmas, not the Christmas, the crispness of it. But I don't think they. It is what it is. Still, I'm able to play Mega Man Legends on the Nintendo 64 and very happy with it because, I think it's just like a very cool game to play. A couple downsides, but still, like the gameplay, it's all there, and that is definitely what matters. Sadly, I don't own Mega Man Legends on the PlayStation 1. I'm gonna say that version is also more expensive when you compare it to the Nintendo 64 version. And I also collect like NTSC for the PlayStation 1. And maybe someday I will see that version. I would love to have that one in my collection as well. But I'm gonna say it's around like 100 or 120 or so. I'm gonna fact check that. But I ever seen that one like on Vinted? I don't think so. Again, I would love to have that one in my collection, maybe at some point. But for now, I have like Mega Man 64, and very happy with it. It is in a good state. Like maybe the label, there is some like some stuff that I need to clean up, but overall, very happy with this one. And again, definitely when I consider that I rarely see it, or actually I've never seen it like on Vinted. This was the only one that was available there. It's just a tough one to get, and there is no PAL release. I'm gonna check that again, but there's no PAL release. I'm gonna say with 99% certainty there was no PAL release because I don't know. I am not sure what the reason is behind that. So very cool one to get. Now, I already mentioned I do want to very briefly talk about the current state of my Nintendo 64 collection because, there are a couple of expensive games that I'm missing out on. Like, definitely not on a rush to get those. But there might be like 4 or 5 games that I still want to get for the Nintendo 64 that are not too expensive. I think Bug Bumble is probably number one. If you don't know Bug Bumble, check it out. The music, I love it. Good music. Is it better than the intro of Goemon? I don't know. But Bug Bumble, the Beetle Adventure, that racing game, I own that one on the Nintendo 64. The PAL release, really enjoyed it. It's a very fun racing game. But I do want to get like the NTC release at some point. There's this weird game, Hybrid Heaven, that I still want to get for the Nintendo 64. Should be around like $40 or so. I think the Beetle Adventure one should be around like 20. Bug Bumble also 40, 50. And what are the other 2 games? Maybe Fighting Force. Maybe that's lower on the list. That is one of those type of games that if I order it from someone that like if I see one of those other games and they have that as well, I will heavily consider picking that one up when I can combine it with the shipping. But those four. Maybe Chameleon Twist 2, but that one is more expensive. Don't know the price. And I'm still missing out on the snowboard kits, like 1 and 2. Those should be cheaper than the PAL versions, though. People say that they're good, but some people say that they're not good, so I'm not too sure. Those are a little bit lower on the list. Yeah, for sure. Like Bug Bumble is number 1. Hybrid Heaven and Beetle Adventure. Those three. I'm currently I'm definitely searching for right now. And I want to say currently I have 108 Nintendo 64 games. Maybe a couple of PAL games in there, but mostly they, that's maybe 1 or 2. And for the rest, it's all NTSC, so very happy with that. And maybe got a few stinkers here and there, but I do have like most of the must-haves. So yeah, that's very nice because I think I mentioned it in a different video, is that I do have a feeling that 2025, besides it being the year of Goemon, I do think it's gonna be like the year of the Nintendo 64 with the imminent release of the Analog 3D console. And yeah, I do have a feeling that more people are gonna talk about the Nintendo 64 this year and are gonna search out like Nintendo 64 games and yeah, importing games. The NTC releases. I just need to be very lucky to actually see them. The games that I still want to get, and I'm gonna take my time. But the nice thing is that I'm very satisfied with the my current Nintendo 64 collection. I know I say this often, but probably I should make a video where I show all the games that I currently have. Out of those 108-ish games, there are still there's a small stack on my desk of games that I still need to show, and yeah, games that I've picked up in the last couple of months or so, or last year, that I just didn't have time to actually show, like in a game pickup video. So yeah, very happy with these two. Not the most cheapest ones, but let's call it affordable. But yeah, that's Mystical Ninja featuring Goemon and Mega Man 64, a Capcom game and a Konami game. Very nice. Lately, I've been playing a couple games. That sounds like it's a very rare occurrence, and yeah, to some extent, that's actually true. But yeah, during the winter time, I definitely do have some more time to devote some time to play some games, and it is just a perfect time to play games. Due to, well, the cold weather, it's just very nice to sit on the couch and chill out a little bit. Also, it's been busy with work, so it's a perfect storm. But yeah, one of the surprising things is more like the games that I've been playing, because this is a genre that I normally avoid because it does require a ton of time, and I'm talking about like the JRPGs and RPGs in general, but mostly like JRPGs right now. And I'm glad that I did. First of all, that is what I want to say. And I've been playing 3 JRPGs in the last couple months, and 2 of them I have finished and currently playing one. So first I want to talk about the games that I've finished and the game that I'm playing right now. I feel like I'm getting into like some sort of rabbit hole, and the JRPGs got me. But yeah, with that said though, there's gonna be like a moment where I'm done with it. Like I've played like too much, because yeah, these games require like a ton of time. But so far, I'm enjoying myself, and there are some games on the list now that I do want to check out as well. But let's focus on the games that I have finished. I spoke about this one before while I was playing it, and it is Trials of Mana. Finished this one, I think, at the end of like last year during December, And really enjoyed my time with Trials of Mana. It's not like the typical JRPG with the turn-based combat, but it's more like action, like active combat. You could like give yourself like a breather and decide like what you're gonna do, but yeah, there are like two companions like in the party that actually make their own decisions, so you can just focus on playing one character, and that was actually very nice. So for example, you could have like a healer and another like character in the party that is maybe more focused on like dealing damage or magic. Now I kind of forgot the names of the characters that I actually chose, but it is the well, not gonna talk about it because I don't even know the name, and it's gonna require like a ton of time to describe them. But yeah, really enjoyed my time with this one. It kind of took, or my estimate is that it took around like 25 or 30 hours or so to finish this game, but after finishing it, there is like an extra story, and I even spent time on doing that because I just wanted to play more. That's always like a good sign. And at the end, like there is some like equipment that you could get, like the ultimate equipment or something like that, and you could like get some more powers. And yeah, again, that is just a good sign that I was enjoying my time with Trials of Mana. Now, my only experience with the Mana games is Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. Also a lovely game, like amazing like pixel art. It has also like the active combat with the turn-based like elements like thrown in there. But yeah, this one really enjoyed it. Nice art style, very vibrant, like the colors, and the story is, I want to say like generic, but I wasn't really playing this one for the story itself. This is just a vehicle to progress and to like get into like newer environments. It's very basic, but that was definitely okay because I think I kind of chose this one to start out with because of the price. It was around like 20 euros or so, and I kind of want to experience something like a JRPG after like not having played one for a long time. I think the last one that I played was Earthbound, but yeah, that's definitely like a different category and caliber. But yeah, it succeeded in its mission because after playing this one, I was starting to feel like, hey, I want to play something else. Kind of wanted to maybe try an actual turn-based like JRPG, and I will definitely talk about one that I'm currently playing. But yeah, besides like the graphics in Trials of Mana, what I liked was just how easy it was to get into it. You know, like leveling up, kill some enemies, grind a little bit more, get some more equipment, get new spells. And you do have like after each level you can like devote some points into like different categories like stamina or strength, and based on that you get like other like spells or power-ups. And yeah, again, very easy to get into. Really enjoyed my time with it. There is a new Mana game. No, I don't know the title of that one. But yeah, kind of curious about that one, but we'll probably pick that one up later because I think that the one was released like last year. I do see it like for like being discounted like here and there, but not like a ton. I think secondhand that one should be around like 30 or 35 or so. But yeah, keeping my eye on that one. And yeah, kind of want to play Secret of Mana now as well for the Super Nintendo. I do own it. But yeah, again, Trials of Mana. Finished it, really enjoyed it, and even took the time to play like the, whatchamacallit, like the epilogue, which was also very enjoyable, like killing like the actual final boss. And yeah, it was very fun. And yeah, again, it was very fun. And while playing this, I was checking out like the, I spoke about this one before that I was actually playing it. That is Ys Origin. I don't know how or why I started playing this one, because I was searching or maybe like top 10 like RPG games or RPGs on the Switch, and this one popped up like in a video, and yeah, always wanted to check out like an East game. I think there was one on the PlayStation 2 that I was eyeing. Like, is this maybe something that I want to play? Also, like the active combat, and yeah, I just saw like, hey, people were pretty positive about this one and said like, hey, this is a good one to start out with. Enjoyed it. Yeah, kind of like the art style. It's more like old school. It's definitely different than when you compare it to the Trials of Mana game, with how it looks. But yeah, also very accessible, very easy to get into. A little bit of like grinding here and there, but not too much. But yeah, it very easy. It was just very mindless fun, and this game was definitely very enjoyable because it made it possible to just play like an hour or so, or half an hour, just to get some levels, to get to like a newer area, because that is something that definitely stood out to me with Ys Origin, is how quickly it progressed. Like, get a boss fight, get to a new area, maybe a new area has like a couple of different levels, and in this game, like, you're trying to climb like a tower. So yeah, like quick progression, and it felt like you kept like seeing new enemies and like newer environments, and some puzzles to solve. It's nothing too crazy, but yeah, really enjoyed this one, like Ys Origin, and that also made me check out like the other Ys games on the Switch. Sadly though, like maybe not all of them are like that suitable for the Switch, like performance wise. You do have like the Nordics one. I think that is one of the later ones, but that one should be better on the PlayStation 4. But yeah, man, because I got this on the Switch, like my brain says like, yeah, now you need to get all of them on the Switch, and I don't think I should, but it makes it a little bit difficult. But I think this month there was a new release. I want to say that's like Ys Velgana or something, that has the similar like graphics or look, like a very similar presentation. And maybe I will pick that one up later if it's like on a sale or discounted for a little bit. But yeah, enjoy my time with Ys Origin, and do want to play more Ys games. Not right now though, because oh boy, actually need to take like a sip of tea, because the next one don't think I mentioned it already, or maybe I did. I do feel like I fell in a rabbit hole with the JRPGs, and yeah, maybe this was something that I should avoid. I am enjoying my time with it, but this actually requires some research. Do I want to play this one, or should I play a different one? I will talk about, or I will show the game that I'm currently playing, and I'm at like, I've played like 30 hours or so, and if you've played this one, I'm currently in chapter 3, and yes, this is a complex one. Not sure where to begin, but I've been playing The Legend of Heroes Trials from Zero, and it's a deluxe edition, but I'm gonna say like all these games are like every like version is a deluxe edition. There is like a special edition, and the deluxe edition is just like, hey, there's like a code for the digital soundtrack, and that's it. But The Legend of Heroes, oh my god, listen, where to begin? It is a JRPG, and if I get something wrong, like, hey, let me know in the comments, but I'm gonna do my best, because I know there are quite a few people like very devoted to like the Legend of Heroes games. And just to get started, like, this is Trials from Zero. And on the Switch you do have Trials to Azure. I might mispronounce that, but that's the sequel to this one. But before, and this is the Crossbell Saga. So those are two games. But before this, you do have the Legends of Heroes, like 3 of them, and those are only playable on the PC. And then you do have Trials of Cold Steel. Those are 4 games, and those were first released on the PlayStation 3, but are now released on the PlayStation 4. But 3 and 4 are also playable on the PlayStation 5, but also playable on the Switch. But those are 3D games and are not that great on the Switch, so you should definitely check out like either the PlayStation 4 version or the PlayStation 5 version that has like 3 and 4 on them. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah, this one from Zero and Azure also got released on the PlayStation 4, but with a different publisher or a different studio worked on it, and those ports are maybe also not the best. Anyway, oh no, I'm not even done. So you do have on the PlayStation 4 also Trials of Reverie. I keep mistaking, like, is it either from or off? But Reverie and Daybreak, those are also available on the PlayStation 5 and the Switch. But also not the best on the Switch, so either you should go for the PlayStation 4 version or PlayStation 5 version. And the Trials of Daybreak 2 is releasing next month. So there's a shit ton of like Legends of Heroes games. And the difficulty is that where to begin, right? And people say like, yeah, because that is one of the cool things with the Legend of Heroes games is that every game is like connected with each other. Like you're not playing with the same characters like in every game, but the story is connected. And if you play all of them, it's gonna blow your mind like how they do it, and it's definitely something. It's something special, but it makes it so difficult. That is why I had to do research. Like, what is the best starting point? Like, there are even like YouTube videos about like where to begin with the Legend of Heroes games. So the Crossbell Saga, so this one and the Azure one, those are apparently like good starting points. Like the best starting point is all the way from the beginning, but that's playing those like 3 on the PC. But those are also long JRPGs, maybe also like 30 or 40 hours or so, or maybe even longer. So I wasn't necessarily like anticipating like that I was gonna play this one, because I just saw a video of Daybreak, like one of the later ones, and it was like, that's cool. That looks like very cool combat, like active combat, but with some turn-based like in there, and graphic-wise it looks awesome. But yeah, then you're starting like at the center or of like a new saga or like a campaign, so you're missing out on the beginning or like all the story before that, because before I need to make a chart, like a flow chart, like, hey, which game should you play? But if you want to play like the Daybreak one, you definitely should play like the Cold Steel ones before, but those are 4 ones, because you can't just start with the 4th one, so you need to start with the first one. There's a ton of games that you need to play. So I was thinking, okay, I need to start somewhere. Definitely not gonna play like the PC ones, like the I don't know the names, but there are 3 of them if I'm correct. But those should actually release like later on the Switch. But anyway, I said like, hey, I need to start somewhere. These are available on the Switch, and like I kind of like the art style. It's somewhat similar to like Ys Origin, and yeah, because I do want to play the Cold Steel ones, but if you want to play the Cold Steel ones, you kind of need to know this. What happens in this? I don't know, man. I don't know. So yeah, I'm 30 hours in this one, and sometimes I'm thinking, what did I start? Like, what did I get myself into? It is a JRPG, but this one is kind of interesting because you're playing, 30 hours in, man. I don't even know the name of the group that you're playing with. It's the SSS And let's just say you're part of the police, but you're like a different, like a newly set up department. And in the beginning, you kind of need to solve like smaller cases. Like it all takes place in Crossbell and or like Crossbell and surrounding areas. But yeah, there are just a couple of easy things like oh, you need to make some photos because of like an event that is here happening, or you need to find some missing items for a character that's in your that is like in Crossbell. Or here and there is a monster that you need to defeat, or you need to go into the sewer because something. There are just some smaller cases, and you're like a new department, and slowly like building up. Getting like your name out there, and people are starting to request like bigger things from you, still from smaller cases to like some bigger events. So it's very the thing that I like. It's not. It definitely starts out like I don't know where it's gonna go with the story, but it's not about like, oh, there's this big evil and the world is gonna end. It's very uh down to earth to some extent. So that is what I'm enjoying. It's more heavily on the more story focused instead of like the combat itself. And I am enjoying the story. Not gonna go in depth about it, but I do enjoy the story. I to some extent like some of the characters. Some of them maybe not as much, but you do have just the four characters, and it's a nice group together. And I like the down to earthness, and um, the missions that you kind of need to do. But it is a long game, man, and well, it is a long game because I've been playing like 30 hours of it so far, and I feel like I'm not even halfway throughout the game. And apparently, like the third chapter that I'm currently on is even like the longest chapter, and I'm not sure like how many chapters there are. But I do feel like the story is like heading towards like something, and it is slowly building up. Again, it's not like world ending. Maybe here and there you get like a certain sense like there is something going on, but I don't think that's the focus of this game. But yeah, the combat, the turn-based, like I like it here and there. It's not. I'm just playing on normal mode, not using any guides. There are some missable things, and I'm not gonna focus on that because I just want to play it so that at some point I can play the other games. But yeah, it's a long ride because after this one, I think the Assure is my assumption still with the same group of people, which would be cool, but I don't know at all like what the overall team is of that game. Where was I? Well, enjoying myself with this one, but yeah, the turn-based one, or it's turn-based combat, and you do need to equip like quartz, and that is how you get like new spells or new moves. It reminds me a little bit about like Final Fantasy VII with the materia. I really like Final Fantasy VII. That is the first JRPG that I ever played, and when that game came out, I devoted like a ton of time playing that one. Wanted to get everything in that game. I played it over like 100 hours. Like, fantastic game. My favorite game. One of my favorite games. Definitely one of my favorite JRPG games. And me playing these games again makes me want to play like the first Final Fantasy VII. I still need to continue on with the remake one. But yeah, enjoying my time with actually playing the JRPGs, and just the turn-based combat. Playing this kind of removed the that feeling of like I need to avoid these games, like the time devotion and it being like difficult, because so far, yeah, there are some boss fights and some monster fights that are too difficult, but if you change up like the quartz, like you can like craft those, and if you get like some new equipment and upgrade that, and or grind just a little bit, like this game is not very heavy on the grinding, because there is this system going on where you can grind a few levels, but after a while, if you're like the same level as the enemy, or maybe a little bit above, like the amount of experience that you get, like it's like nothing at all. So it requires like a ton of time to actually level up, and it's not helping you out. I like grinding for levels because you can just simply turn off your mind. But the nice thing is actually this makes it so that I need to progress the story to actually do that again, because I might fall off this game if I just kept on like grinding for levels. But yeah, enjoying my time with this. Currently, still playing it. Not sure like how far I am with this game. I do have the feeling like it kind of needs to speed up a little bit, because again it's 30 hours. But then I saw like on Reddit, some people mentioned like, yeah, it took me like 60 hours, and like, shit. Because yeah, I do want to play like the Cold Steel ones on the PlayStation 4. I do like those, the graphics as well. But the thing is, I just wanted to play Daybreak because that one looked awesome, and it's like the latest Legends of Heroes game that came out. So yeah, maybe this year I will talk a lot about Legends of Heroes, like those games. I'm not sure. Maybe so far it is my goal, but I could get tired of them. But I'm glad that I took the jump in, like first Trials of Mana, then East Origin. Definitely not comparable to like Trials from Zero, but it helped me to get into these type of games. And I started making a list of, okay, which like JRPGs did I actually kind of ignore in the last years or so, and do I want to check out again? Because yeah, Persona 3 is also on my list, like the Reload one, and the Shin Megami Tensei 5, like the Vengeance. I do want to get that one on the PlayStation 5. Wish that one was better on the Switch, like performance wise. But yeah, I like that art style. I like the team and like the vibe of like the Shin Megami Tensei 5. I do own like the original version on the Switch, but yeah, the performance is just there, and it doesn't do justice to like the graphical art style. And the PlayStation 5 version just looks amazing. But yeah, this is a rabbit hole because there's so much to play, and currently just focusing on this one, but keeping my eye on the other games that I've been missing out, and that I feel like, hey, I definitely should play as well. But now the problem is that I need to play this one, then Assure. I think I own that one as well. Do I have it here? Yeah, it's actually this one. So this one is already ready to go, and I think after Zero, we'll probably jump right away into that one, then take a small break, and then hopefully later get like the Gold Steel ones, and those are 4. But those play a little bit differently. Those I think are a bit more focused on the combat, still story wise, but more like combat. But yeah, it's alright, man. It's fun, but JRPGs, it requires a ton of time. But I keep thinking to myself, like, sometimes I feel like I'm rushing like through this game, but yeah, I am enjoying the story actually, and that's a good sign as well. I do enjoy the gameplay. I like the story more than the combat in this one, and it's kind of shocking because normally the story I'm like, yeah, it's whatever, but I kind of want to see like the end of this one and see how it continues. I even almost forgot because I started out with how complicated it is with all these games and with the starting point. I'm glad that I started out with this one and maybe not with the first 3 games. I might come back to this opinion or this view, but listen. Really, I'm not joking that I did some research like, okay, where do I start? Because I could have started out with the Gold Seal ones. maybe in the end, I'm happy that I played this one first and then Gold Steel. But people said like, no, you really need to start with the first 3 ones, which are older and on the PC. So far, after 30 hours, there's nothing really that stood out to me that made me think like, oh, if I had played those games, this would definitely feel like different. Or there's never there so far there has not been a moment that I felt like I'm missing out on something. There has been like 2 or 3 characters where I went like, these are probably characters that if I saw them appear right now, that I would say like, oh, it's that person from that game. But so far there has been like 1 character that has popped up maybe once for a minute or so, or like twice for like a minute total, and that's it. They do mention like different like cities or countries, and maybe if you played the prior ones, you kind of know like, oh, that place over there. But there's nothing that feel or that made me feel like, oh, I'm missing out on something like big right now. So that's a very positive sign. Maybe that opinion is different if I have actually played like the first 3 ones, but I think a positive thing is that I'm not feeling that I'm missing out on something. Because sometimes when you do see or read like about these games, it seems like you're missing out on something big. Maybe something could happen like in the later chapters. I don't know, but so far that has been my feeling and my experience so far, and that's a good sign. And if I really enjoyed it, like at some point I could play like the first 3 ones. I highly doubt it though, um, unless it's a remake or like like a remake. But I think it's just a more like a remaster that they're currently planning. I'm not too sure. But Legends of Heroes, yeah. So yeah, that one I'm currently playing, and I hope. Well, I think at the end of the month, in 2 weeks time, I hope in 2 weeks time I'm done with this game. No rush, but I'm kind of curious like how this continues on with the other one. It does something with the save file as well. I think if you finish this one and play like Azure, that you get like other stuff, but I don't think it's like super important. I think. Anyway, there's the 2 games that I've been playing, or 3 games that I've been playing, and 2 games that I've finished. Enjoyed them so far. And hey, maybe you do have like a JRPG recommendation for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or Switch. Do let me know. Kind of, I like progression. Oh yeah, I've been checking out that Tales of something that is also coming out. It seems also very fun. I need to play like Tales of Symphonia sometime on the GameCube. Yes. Maybe like in a couple of weeks I'm like super done with this genre. But so far I'm enjoying it, and that is what is important. So there you have it. And yeah, that is almost gonna do it for this week. Just very happy with the 2 games for the Nintendo 64 that I was able to add to my collection. Again, there are just not a ton of games left that I want to add to my collection, unless I really want to go for the full collection. But I don't think so, man. Like, space is limited, and I'm not gonna go and add like all the sport titles and the wrestling games to my collection. Games that it is very unlikely that I'm gonna play those unless I see a lot with all of them in it. Then I will consider it, but I'm not gonna search for that. But yeah, there are just not that many games left that I want to add. But yeah, it would be very fun to go over those games a little bit more like in depth, or show the list and also show all the games that I currently own for the Nintendo 64. Because I'm very happy with the current state of this collection, especially with these 2 games that I've just added, like Mystical Ninja and Mega Man 64. Small correction with the games that I was playing. I played those games, but the Trials of Mana, I just wanted to add, I forgot to mention this and kind of forgot about it. It is a remake of the third one that is available on the Collection of Mana, which was originally just a Japanese release, but in the Collection of Mana, it was translated. But this is a remake of that one. It is not like a new entry, but I think you could still like see those two games as like separate entries. Because even though there's a remaster, I think playing that one or that version on the Collection of Mana, like the translated version, is still worth playing. I also really like the art style in that one, like lovely pixel art, like for the Super Nintendo. It is it looks wonderful. For next week though, or next 2 weeks, like I am super busy with work. There will be a video, but it's very unlikely it's gonna be a game pickup video. There are two options. I might show like the Nintendo 64 games that I've picked up in the last half year or so, but I just didn't get or had the time to actually show those in the game pickup video. So probably one video is going to be about that, and the other one is highly likely going to be about two items that are in my collection that I've owned since like one of them maybe for 35 years already, and the other one maybe for 25 years. I don't know, man. One of them is from the Super Nintendo era, and the other one is actually about like where it all started for me, my fascination for games. And those are two items that I've had in my collection since the beginning. And I thought I thought it could be fun to actually go over those two things and show them, because one of them actually rarely see anyone talk about it. And it is just a very fascinating game, or not a game, a very fascinating item to have. And it is something that I'm never going to sell. And both of the things are never going to sell. But it's likely that one of the videos is going to be about that. With that said, though, it's going to be busy. Those videos could be long or short. I don't know. You just have to find out on your own when they come out. No game pickups, because currently there are no games on the way, if I'm correct. Maybe one Switch title, I guess, but I never really show like Switch titles that I pick up in these videos. Just focus a little bit more on retro games. That is gonna do it. So thanks all for watching, and as always, highly appreciate the likes and the subscribes in the last couple weeks. Appreciate it a ton. Have a nice day, and see you all later. Bye.